Welcome back to another episode of the 5th round, where we're going to be looking at UFC Florida this weekend. Now it's Jacare versus Jack Hermansson, but first we're going to look through the rest of the card. Or the big talking points in the card, should we say. But before we get into that, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and follow me on KChatYT for all of your UFC and MMA updates. Now kicking it off, we're not having a rant as such, but the MMA community is very much disgusted that Greg Hardy has been given a second opportunity to co-main event a UFC card. Now, of course, coming through the Tuesday Night Contender Series, he's one with a dark history, but he got his contract and he co-main evented the UFC Fight Night from TJ Dillashaw and Cejudo's bout, and he got disqualified through an illegal knee to the head against Alan Crowder. So there was a lot of promotion into him. He's of course got his darkened history from before he was in the UFC, and many were hoping that he'd have to work his way up the ranks. Now personally, I'd rather see CM Punk fight again than Greg Hardy. Now when you got the likes of Glover Teixeira and Andrei Arlovski and Carla Esparza on the card, to see Greg Hardy who's had one fight in the UFC co-main event the card, you'd have to wonder what the UFC's plan is. Now of course they want him to be the next heavyweight giant, and he does have a lot of power, but he's not pulling the crowds, and he's certainly not getting any fans from what he's done in his past, inside and outside the octagon. Now he's facing Dmitry Smolikakikov, who does have a record of 8 wins and 2 losses. But this is a fight that Greg Hardy, the stats, he outshines him in everything, and despite only having 3 professional fights and losing one of them, he should be winning this one with ease, unless he loses his head again, which is much likely to happen. Then it isn't going to happen. Now Hardy lands 3.88 strikes. He also lands more significant strikes and absorbs less. So you can see that this fight is going to be Greg Hardy hitting and Dmitry more or less on the back foot. So yes, for me, I believe that Greg Hardy is going to get a win inside the co-main event here. And it depends on what he's going to do next, whether they'll throw him into the rankings. He's still very much a raw talent in terms of he hasn't got that exposure of fighting in an octagon. He's only had 3 fights. One of them was on a closed set, and the other one was in the octagon, and he's had one previous to that, which I'm not sure his environment, unless he had 2 on the Tuesday Night Contender Series. So yes, here's the hype train, a hype train for the wrong reason. Now we're going to move on to the true co-main event. Alex Oliveira versus Platinum Mike Perry. Now, for me, both of these fighters are better than Greg Hardy and his opponent, and these two should be facing it off in the co-main event. Both fighters are coming back off the loss, with Alex Oliveira coming back from a Gunnar Nelson defeat, whilst Platinum Mike Perry recently fought Paul Felder and had his arm broken, of course, so this is his first fight back since that injury. Now, it is in the welterweight division, which is already stacked as it is, and this fight's going to be one where I believe they're both in the rankings, so it could push them up into the top 10, maybe the top 12 for sure. And both are talented fighters. I believe, if my mind corrects me, Oliveira was winning that fight against Gunnar Nelson, or was very much in the driving seat before elbows did cut his head open from Gunnar Nelson, who quickly got the submission in. Now for Perry, 92% of his wins has come via TKO, so should he get a victory, most likely this weekend, it's going to come via a knockout or a technical knockout. Now he's never won via submission during his pro MMA record, and he also lands more strikes but less significant strikes than Alex Oliveira. So it could be a fact that Mike Perry will hit Alex Oliveira more, but Oliveira could get a victory with some more significant strikes, some more damage, should we say. So it is an exciting fight for the fans. Now continuing with the stand-up game, Mike Perry also absorbs less punches than Alex Oliveira, so he's going to be able to duck and dive, slide those punches, keep his distance, and really check the Brazilian's movement. And personally, I'm excited for this fight. I think this could be fight of the night. Both are very ballsy, gutsy fighters, and both have a personality inside and outside the octagon. And taking it to the ground, Mike Perry does take less takedowns on average, but he does have a better defense and offense for takedowns than Oliveira. So should Cowboy go for any takedowns, I'm sure they'll be stifled and stopped by Platinum Mike Perry. So this is probably the hardest fight to predict out of all of them, to be honest. It's probably the one with the two closest competitors in terms of skill sets, records, and where they are in their careers in the UFC as well. So I'll go for Platinum Mike Perry win. He's going to get back from that broken arm, win this fight, and I think it's going to go to a decision. I don't think this is going to be a knockout. I think we're going to go through all 3 rounds of this fight, and both of them will be getting a 50k bonus at the end of the night. Let me know who you think is going to win, Platinum Mike Perry or Alex Cowboy Oliveira. I'll leave a card on top and you can vote up there. Now finally, moving on to the main event, is Jacare Souza versus Jack Hermansson. Now of course, Jacare Souza recently beat Chris Weidman at UFC 230, where he was losing the first 2 rounds, but after some brilliant boxing, did hit Chris Weidman, who got brutally knocked down. I remember him dropping to the canvas in such a brutal fashion, just like he did at UFC 205 in Madison Square Garden. It is somewhat a place that is haunted for Chris Weidman, who comes from Long Island, trains in that area, and Jacare's sort of horror is a title shot's not yet been given to him. Now, should he win, he has to wait for Israel Adesanya, of course, who's now the interim champion, and Robert Whittaker to fight, more than likely in September, October time, maybe even November card. That would be a good time for that fight, but that's in Madison Square Garden, so I'd imagine it's going to be October. So should Jacare win this, he's going to be put on a waiting list. Now, whether you say he can fight Kelvin Gastelum, which they've had a fight before, and Kelvin Gastelum did win, I believe, if memory serves me correct. Now, Jack Hermansson only fought a month ago in March against David Branch, but he did get a first round submission, and it was a beautiful submission as well. Now, Jack Hermansson is coming in as the underdog. It's almost like the Anthony Smith versus John Jones of UFC 235, and you can almost see in this is very one-sided in terms of who's being picked to win this fight, and of course it's the legend Jacare, who does have the more experience. He does have more fights under his belt, and he's been in the UFC longer. Now, despite that, Hermansson does have a longer reach, both in arms and legs, so he should be able to hit him a lot more, should be able to get the kicks in a lot easier, and it's going to be something that Jacare is going to have to be careful on with his movement. Again, checking the distance so he's out of range of those punches, out of those kicks, and it's going to be something that he's going to have to work on, probably working within the clinch and working within reach, because he's going to have to cover another 6 or 7 inches, I believe, to be able to get in reach of Jack Hermansson to land any strikes in the first place. But while saying that, Jack Hermansson also does land more punches per minute and has a higher significant strike percentage as well. So he's going to hit him more, and maybe this isn't as one-sided as we think it's going to be. He also absorbs less per minute and has a better takedown accuracy average. And he also has a better takedown accuracy, average, and defense. So all the stats really do look in Jack Hermansson's favour. So going through a prediction, Jack Hermansson winning would be somewhat of an underdog story. It would put him in the limelight for a definite number 8 to number 5 ranking inside the UFC, and with this 185-pound division is absolutely stacked with the likes of Chris Weidman. Even Rockhold's had to go to move up to 205. We've got Israel Adesanya, Robert Whittaker, Kelvin Gastelum. We've got so many names at that 185-pound division, and another one added to it, Jack Hermansson, would be both delightful and almost, who fights who. It's true, I think it was Sharp who said 205 down to 145 is a war zone at the moment. We've got, 50, 60 fighters all looking like title contenders. And it's almost like you're going to need a Grand Prix, and that's almost what we're having with these interim belts. We're having a Grand Prix in terms of who's fighting for the belts. So yes, I'm going to go for a Jack Hermansson win actually. I think the underdog's going to get the victory, and I think we're going to see an upset. Jacare Souza is a legend. He is the favourite in this, and I don't think it's going all 5 rounds. Once again, the UFC Fight Nights on ESPN Plus has never gone 5 rounds, and I don't see this. I think this is going to be a 3-rounder, really. I think Jack Hermansson is going to win either via submission or TKO. this is not reaching the end klaxon, and it's certainly not going for 25 minutes. Let me know your comments. Let me know who you think is going to win the fight between Jack Hermansson and Jacare Souza. Is it too soon for Hermansson to be back in the octagon? And is Jacare Souza had a long enough layoff in time period to be fighting now? Of course, he was meant to be fighting Yoel Romero, and that recently got changed, I believe 2-3 weeks ago now. So his camp would have been somewhat directed towards Yoel Romero, who's a lot of strength, a lot of kicking, a lot, big Cuban power, whereas Jack Hermansson's a smaller frame, and he's got a lot more submission techniques. He's quite better on the ground. So will his camp be prepared for someone like Jack Hermansson? But anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and tweet me at CageChatYT, hashtag the 5th round and hashtag CageChat, and I will see you on Monday to see who was victorious, Jacare or Jack Hermansson.